Welcome to Out of Continues, episode 296, a weekly podcast posted up every Monday in which we talk about video games related topics. I'm your host, Stafa. And with me today is Kevin.
Hello. Hello.
Talk about video games and video game related topics on outofcontinues.com as an MP3. It goes up before that on youtube.com/outofcontinues as a video. And this week we're going to be talking about. Last week we talked about monsters in games, and this week we're going to continue that. And since we're continuing the theme of Halloween all week long. All week we're gonna be talking about Halloween with Cthulhu, the king of all horrors, the terror of terrors,
Yeah, pretty much.
the most tentacly of tentacles. Cthulhu. How do you pronounce it, Kevin?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I think there might be a delay.
Oh, okay.
How would you pronounce Cthulhu?
Pretty much just the way you did, Cthulhu.
Okay, because I've heard some people say Cthulhu.
Yeah,
Or
I think that's incorrect.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense because there's a TH. That's a sound. But anyways.
Cthulhu.
Yeah. So our main topic is Cthulhu. Then we're gonna have some quick announcements, and we have like a few news topics. We'll keep it brief, and
Yep.
get through this before I faint because I dehydrated myself today. Got my water so I don't continue to dehydrate myself. So anyway,
How is the temperature out in California?
we had a heat wave earlier this week, but it's starting to cool down. I mean, like it was like the hundreds earlier this week. It was insanity.
Yeah, here in Indy, it's been really cold in the mornings and then mild during the days. Like it's actually down to 32s and during the nights, and then around like 60s maybe during the day.
Probably gonna start snowing next week for you.
Yep.
That's how Indiana is. You have like 1 week of autumn, and then you go into winter.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, anyways, before we get going and talk about our main topic, I'm going to mention a quick disclaimer that all opinions expressed on the show are of our own and not of our employers, whether past, present, or future. Ooh, don't fire me. This is Stafa.
Is that the ghost of jobs past?
Yes. I'm unemployed. No, that's stuff of unemployment future. So, anyways, let's start talking about Cthulhu. Cthulhu.
Sure.
Yeah, because Kevin, you like Cthulhu.
I do like Cthulhu. I've generally been a fan of Lovecraftian horror in general. I think it's usually pretty good. It's very different from other types of horror. It's got its unique flavor in a sense, where it kind of stands out as being more psychological and more about the horrors of the unknown and as opposed to some other horror, which is usually just trying to uh, give you jump scares or give you shock scare because of some like gore value or something like that.
Now,
But
correct me if I'm wrong, but um, now Lovecraftian horror is like about making the like humans, like people, pointing out how insignificant they are, and like the horror, like Cthulhu, or like above and beyond anything that a person can even comprehend. Is that correct? Something along.
yep, in many ways, that's pretty much, yeah. A lot of Lovecraftian horror deals with insanity, like losing your mind because of not being able to understand exactly what Cthulhu is or any of the creatures from the other dimensions that Cthulhu pretty much resides over. So H.P. Lovecraft was an author from a long time ago. He's no longer living, but he wrote a series of short stories, essentially, in many ways. A lot of them were connected through this Cthulhu mythos. And Cthulhu is the like the god of all monsters, like of he's like an extra dimensional being, so he's not even from our universe as we understand it, but he devours whole worlds, and that's what he feeds off of. And
So he's like
um,
scarier Galactus.
in many ways, uh, so there's other creatures too that are like I guess Cthulhu's underlings, and then there's other elder gods. But Cthulhu is like the ruler of all of them. He is the mightiest of them all, and he pretty much stays in slumber until it's time to eat, and then he awakens and arises from wherever he is and devours the world. Um, but a lot of the monsters that Lovecraft had created were all from different dimensions, and any people that came across them just couldn't really, I guess they wouldn't have the ability to understand what they were looking at, or the monsters themselves had some kind of effect on the mind of the people. So anyone who even had the slim chance of surviving would just have lost their minds. They would have gone completely insane and would probably have been or taken to some kind of like psychiatric medical facility. And um, but a lot of the monsters they that Lovecraft had designed, they all have like uh, a signifying appearance to them. A lot of them are just really strange looking. Like if you look at what Cthulhu is described as, he's basically got he almost looks like half dragon, half octopus, where his head has tentacles where his mouth would be, but then on his body he's got what looks like dragon wings. And these are all, and there's different variations based on different artist representations of him. But the most notable one is the giant, like a huge monster with dragon wings, and you would expect his mouth to be. And
Kind of like that thing that chases Rick and Morty in their intro.
yeah, and that's one other thing too about the Cthulhu mythos and just Lovecraftian horror in general is that his Lovecraftian's creations and stories have become so widespread that you see his monsters and representations of his monsters in so many different media. And I think it's probably one of the most used horror styles across different style, like different kinds of entertainment. So there's a lot of movies that have things that are inspired by Lovecraft. A lot of TV shows, like you were mentioning, Cthulhian type of monsters appear in Rick and Morty. Even in pretty sure like there's Cthulhu in like The Simpsons and Futurama, and Cthulhu actually makes a huge appearance in board games and video games and just that style of horror and books as well. And also now that all of Lovecraftian's writings and source material is copyrighted, people use that as inspiration for a lot of their sources too. So it's become a lot more accessible, and a lot of people are using it. And it's kind of interesting to see different people adding to this mythos because they have some variation of it, or they uh, have their own interpretations of it. And it's just really fascinating to see all these different contributions to the mythos being provided by several different people.
Yeah, kind of like Cthulhu Saves the World.
Yep. Yeah, that was one of those like 8-bit games that came out a while back. It was in the style of like Final Fantasy, where you're kind of walking around with your party. In this case, it's Cthulhu and whoever else he ends up picking up around the world throughout his adventures. And as you're walking through dungeons and things, you encounter random monsters that you have to fight. But that game was kind of took a humorous take on Cthulhu because it's been a while since I've played it, so I don't remember exactly the. I do know that Cthulhu is still evil, but he gets he gets stuck in something, and he has to actually save the world in order to be free of whatever he's like a prisoner of. And so then he has to save the world so that he can ultimately destroy the world whenever he wants. So it was a humorous take on it, and there's just a lot of funny dialogue in that game.
I was gonna say Cthulhu sounds like a nice guy, but apparently he's very selfish. He's saving the world for selfish means.
Yep, he just needs to save the world so he's free to destroy the world.
Great. Oh,
Yeah, and there's actually like some of the more notable games when it comes to video games, at least. I mean, there's a couple games that are directly related to Cthulhu, and there's like one of the most popular ones is Call of Cthulhu, which is like a horror adventure game back, and I think they're doing a reboot of that, if I remember correctly. Um, but also, as I was mentioning before, Cthulhu gets used a lot in other source materials. Now, things like I think Blizzard has even incorporated Cthulhian monsters in like World of Warcraft, like the Elder Gods make an appearance, and I
yeah.
think the Elder Gods also are in Hearthstone. Um, and then there's some other games that are board games that are directly related to the Lovecraftian horror, like the Arkham horror games. There's actually a lot of the Arkham games. There's Arkham Horror, Arkham Eldritch, and then Elder Sign. They're all like different variations of the basic same rule principles when it comes to games, to the board games. Um,
Which one is the one
but
that Batman gets stuck in the asylum?
sorry.
I said, which one is it that Batman gets stuck in the
Uh,
asylum?
yeah, that one is the Arkham Asylum. But
Ah, good old Arkham Asylum
yeah,
with Cthulhu.
yep, Cthulhu definitely is the one that's keeping Batman there.
Yep. I mean, like he's the last boss. Joker turns into him. He roids up and turns to Cthulhu.
Yep, classic Joker. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot out there when it comes to Lovecraftian horror. Another pretty good example is Path of Exile, which is kind of like Diablo in style in terms of how the game plays. But that one is actually it incorporates a lot of different. I think there's even some like Norse and Greek mythology in there as well. But there's a few segments in that game where it's very clear that Cthulhu and the other elder gods are inspiration for a lot of the designs in there. Um, but yeah, I think There's another one that I actually can't remember the name of, but it's like a roguelike where you're playing through. I think it's called Eldritch actually. But that one you're basically going through like the various stories in Lovecraft's writings and actually experiencing them. So you're actually like going through different portals that take you to different worlds and all these elder gods and different creatures that are from Lovecraft's writings are you're basically trying to like close all the portals and you encounter a lot of the monsters that Lovecraft wrote.
I played some.
So there's
I thought that I mean, despite the very simplistic graphics, it played really well.
yeah, it kind of takes it seems like it took a lot of inspiration from the other roguelike called Delver, where it's first person real time action, but it's all like it's really simple graphics and like the some of it is could potentially be like pixel art almost, but it's still in a simplified 3D world, almost like taking Delver and Minecraft together with the whole Lovecraftian horror genre, and
Mm.
that's the what Eldritch turned out to be. But it's like a roguelike where you're going through all these different portals and trying to defeat Cthulhu in the end.
Have you ever played Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth?
I have not, but that's definitely on my wish list.
I played a little bit of it on Xbox back in the day on the OG Xbox,
Mm,
Xbox One, Xbox One X.
yeah.
And
Man, you had that before even Microsoft did.
yeah. I drew an X on my Xbox to makes it Xbox One X. But anyways, so I mean, Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth, like, it was a really creepy game. Like all the people, like they have like just really weird faces. They all look like there's something from a nightmare, and like I couldn't tell if that was like just the art style and people just looked creepy, or if like there was actually something wrong with them, like they were like um corrupted or something. I don't know. It was really confusing. Like people just looked really weird in that game, uh and also like I kept on opening a portal that a Cthulhu would come out and like would just kill me, and I was confused as to like what I'm supposed to do next because I just keep on dying. Like, what's going on? But
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I haven't played that one, but there is sorry, go ahead.
it's it's a first person shooter, but it's not. I don't want to make it sound like it's an action game. It's more of like, I think it's more of a survival horror from what I was playing. And you get some guns, but you hardly have any ammo in the guns. And like
Yeah.
you'd have to like sneak around and backstab people, and like the backstab animation was like pretty gruesome. Um so I mean, I remember at the time of the game, like that was like one of the best looking backstabs in a game. I mean, I mean, since then, like there's a lot of really cool looking like stealth kill animations and games now, but like back then that actually looked really cool. Um, but I mean, it was just a creepy game. Like you go around and talk to people, and you're trying to figure out like what's going on, and then like all of a sudden people start chasing you, and you gotta like lock the door and start running. And I don't know, it was just really weird. I didn't get very far in the game. I just remember I kept on like getting to a place where I'd open a portal to Cthulhu, and uh, ends up killing me or something. I don't know. It was a very confusing game.
Yeah. Uh, in that same style where it's like almost horror survival, a big one that came out a little while ago was Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
Hmm.
In that one where you're basically playing someone who suffers from amnesia, so you don't even know why you're there in this castle type area.
I know why.
And there's this you knew all along.
I know why. Because I like castles. So I'm there.
Yeah, you like castles where you're being stalked by this creepy monster.
I played like 1 minute of Amnesia and I was like, this is crazy. Like,
Yeah, it was one of those games where I actually had to play it with like multiple playthroughs because I'd play for 15, 20 minutes and I'd be like, nope, I'm done now. And then get back to it later.
I was playing with headphones
But
on and like there's all sorts of sounds. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like looking around trying to see where the sounds are coming from. And then like the dude I'm playing just collapses and starts screaming. And I'm like, what's happening? He like the first person view just starts going down because he like collapses on the floor and he just starts screaming and I'm like I'm done. That's it. That's like within the first minute of
yeah, and it's one of those games. Yeah, and it's one of those things where you can't even fight the monsters that are in the game. Well, actually, there's like probably only one or two monsters that you encounter throughout the entire game, but they're just like they're hunting you, and you can't do anything about them because you don't have any weapons. And the monsters, if they find you and they start chasing you, if they get to you, it's like one hit and then you're dead. So you always have to hide from them or sneak around them or try to avoid them in any way possible. And there's just no way to fight back. So I think that part also just makes it even scarier because there's nothing you can do. So that thing is chasing you, you just have to run. And it's yeah, it's really nerve wracking just trying to play that game, especially with headphones on, because do get all those sounds that are all around you, and it's just the atmosphere was really well designed, so it actually is really creepy just walking through the hallways and trying to sneak around these monsters or the one monster that's always just there following you or looking for you.
Mhm.
And another game that I actually really liked, it kind of has some Lovecraftian style horror in it, mainly because it's a lot
Dungeon.
of sorry.
Darkest Dungeon.
Oh. Yeah, that game is yeah, that one actually that wasn't I completely forgot about, but yeah, that one's another really good one.
Okay. Well, what was the game that you were gonna talk about?
Soma. It's similar to Amnesia where it's like a puzzle adventure horror game, but that one doesn't necessarily have any directly inspired Cthulhu type monsters in there, but the type of horror that it is very similar to what Lovecraft had written, and it's all psychological horror and atmospheric. And that game I definitely recommend playing if you would like to get through a story based horror game. And I would probably rate Soma in my like top 10 games of all time. It's really well done and actually is really scary, but in a atmospheric type of way. I mean, there are points where you encounter monsters that are might give you some jump scares, but for the most part, the whole thing is very atmosphere and psychologically scary. Um, but yeah, then you mentioned Darkest Dungeon, which is another great example. And that one is another roguelike where you've got it's based on uh, party composition and where you place them. And it's kind of like the grid-based dungeon delver or dungeon crawling games from a long time ago. And yeah, that one is a really good one.
Yeah, I never played it myself. I've seen like short clips of it. Like the graphics art style look very good. It's like a 2D
Yeah,
hand drawn, but it looks like it's just very horror art.
Yeah, it's very dark, and both in like the physical lighting sense and also just like the thematic sense where uh, everything is kind of takes place during uh, I want to say it's almost like Victorian London style where uh, like disease is rampant and um, there's like the town that your main hub is. It's a very it almost feels like Victorian England style, um, but just really dark, almost like what was the game that came after Dark Souls, the one that was on PS4. Why can't I think of the name?
I knew it like a second ago. I know what you're talking
Bloodborne.
about.
Bloodborne.
Yes. There we go.
Yeah.
Bloodborne.
Yeah, so that one it kind of reminds me of that, where it's like a really dark and grungy Victorian England, and also dealing with this insanity panic where if your characters started getting stressed, well, it was stress, I think is what they called it um, in Darkest Dungeon, where if your characters are as they're going through the dungeons, if they're in darkness for too long, or if they encounter monsters that start to disturb them, they start building stress. And if they get too much stress, then they reach a breaking point, which affects the game. So stress was a huge mechanical aspect to Darkest Dungeon. And I remember playing one time, and one of my uh, one of my guys was completely stressed. So he had passed his breaking point, and seeing my own people whenever they missed uh, their attacks, which then caused my own people to start getting stressed because there was just this one guy that kept yelling at them and kept insulting them and calling them names. And so I
Oi.
was going through this dungeon. That yeah, so like I was going through this dungeon and this one guy got stressed and then he just started insulting everyone else. And then by the time I'd gotten through the whole thing, all of them were just completely stressed and I had to send them off to do their own things to become less stressed. So that was quite the experience. And then um, yeah, so like just the types of variety that they included in that game is really cool because stress affects each character in different ways, and it's all based on their personalities. Um, like one person, I think she was my healer slash mage, and she wasn't really effective with her healing anymore. So that made a huge impact on how I was playing through the game because if she got stressed, which she did, then it would be really hard to heal the rest of my party because she was just not talking anymore, or she was completely silent and wasn't saying whatever thing she needed to say to heal everyone. So just the types of management that you have in that game are really diverse, and they don't make it so it's really repetitive. Like everyone has different styles of playing, and they made it really good.
The Since you mentioned Bloodborne, I mean I haven't played Bloodborne, but from what I understand, like From Software, they mentioned that huge inspiration for their art style is Berserk, the Japanese comic, uh, which
Oh yeah.
that I suppose that has like it's like a Japanese kind of take on horror type monsters. I mean, they're all just
Hmm.
like really freaky, um, just very abstract, crazy designs. Like eyeballs or tentacles or teeth just coming out of like random places. Um,
Hmm.
and and like people going insane is also a theme with that. Like one of the main characters um, in Berserk, like early on, she ended up like just going in, like she saw like her whole army got slaughtered. She was like the second best person in the army. Like she saw everybody get slaughtered, and then that like just made her go insane and like basically, uh, made her like a baby, like mentally like a baby.
Yeah.
Just very dumb. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the. I know from Software you said that that's like one of their inspirations, and it's very similar to uh Lovecraftian. At least like a Japanese take on Lovecraftian horror.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. In regards to like more modern things, there's a lot of Stephen King's writings are also pretty heavily inspired by Lovecraft. Um, at least his style of horror, and so things like The Mist, which was also turned into a movie that had like in the movie you kind of get a glimpse of what the monster looks like at the end, but I mean it does kind of it resembles some of that Lovecraftian creature design where really creepy looking, just not it looks otherworldly, like it doesn't belong here, and it's not a monster that you would imagine seeing in this our existence. And that was something that Lovecraft just experimented with a lot, was things that we couldn't imagine being in our existence, and things that were from other worlds or other dimensions.
Pennywise turns into a giant bug, and then the guy goes, "Oh my god!" Grade A acting.
Yep. I think you should just go right into the acting business.
Yep,
You could be a do voiceovers for games too now. Become a voice actor.
exactly. I know people. But yeah, any other games that you think are notable to mention as far as like
Um,
that have Cthulhu or Lovecraftian horror style?
I would probably say Silent Hill, although I haven't actually played any of the Silent Hill games. But from what I've heard about them and know basically a little bit about them from just the general news that spreads through the industry, that also seems like it's inspired by Lovecraftian horror. And maybe eventually I'll be able to get around to playing them, but I never have. But although I do have an interest in checking them out at some point. But that might be another one to add to the list.
Have you ever played The Secret Worlds or Secret?
Oh yeah, actually, thanks for mentioning that. I was thinking about that earlier while we were talking, and then it just came out, left my mind. But yeah, I did play Secret World for a little while. That one was really fun. That's like an MMO, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and like they should be either they have or they're going to be soon. Like relaunching the game like completely free.
Oh,
Yeah, like they're basically relaunching it, kind of like a reboot. I don't know, like if there's gonna be like some kind of new like microtransaction system that they're implementing or something, but it's supposed to be like completely free or something. I'm not sure.
yeah, because I don't recall if I paid anything to play it, but I may have. I can't remember exactly if it was just like the $15 per month to play it, or if it was free to play for certain sections. Like maybe the first area was free, and then you had to pay a subscription to get access to more content.
I know
But yeah, that one was sorry.
extra credits, like they had an episode on like puzzle design, and they noted secret world or quest design, and they noted secret worlds as having like good quest design. That's more than just like, your average MMO. It's like you have go kill X amount of enemy quest, or go fetch this item quest, or go deliver this item quest. Like it's
Yeah.
just very not a lot of variety as far as like the quests go, and extra credits, which is a web series talking about like game design. They noted that Secret World uh had some pretty good quest design.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a while since I last played it, but I do remember it actually being a unique MMO in that aspect in the quest design because they were a lot more story based, and they actually had you accomplishing series of tasks um, that weren't just go kill these things or go collect those things, and but yeah, like, it was set in modern day times, and all of the Lovecraftian type monsters were spreading into the world, and so you had. I mean, it looked like modern day mixed with Lovecraft stuff because most of the Lovecraftian stuff is usually set in older time periods, especially if you're looking at exactly what Lovecraft had written about. A lot of his stuff kind of took place during the 50s and 60s time period. So Secret World was a little unique in that it took place during modern day,
Mm-hmm.
and I do definitely want to revisit that now that they're doing something completely free, and I'll definitely check that out again.
There's also Sunless Sea.
Oh yeah, that's a good example.
Did you play much of that?
I haven't played too much of that one.
Have it, but I was like trying to play it, but there was like so much reading, and I'm like, I don't feel like reading. I hear the stories that it has are actually really good, and also there's more stories like you could download because they add more to it, constantly adding more stories, and they're all really good, but it requires reading, and I don't feel like reading.
Yeah, it definitely is a lot of reading because there's no voice acting at all, and it's a very story-based roguelike. So all that is told through text. But I actually haven't played too much of it. I run into issues a lot with resources. Like I'll run out of money and then I can't buy fuel. And so I always end up getting stranded because I'm out of fuel or out of food. So I think I need to figure out other ways of potentially getting fuel and food. Maybe there's something that I'm completely missing, like you can potentially maybe find it in certain areas,
The
but most of the time I have to end up buying it. So I mean, I'll be able to buy enough for the first few minutes, and then after several minutes, I'm out of fuel and food, and then my guy ends up dying.
the sequel is in early access, Sunless Skies, and it looks like it's more of,
Yeah, I was looking at that one. That one's like a sci-fi, right? Or
yeah,
is it?
like
Oh, no,
airships.
airships. That's right. Yeah, it's like steampunk style airships.
Yeah. There's one game I have, and I played a little bit of it. I didn't beat it. I don't know why I stopped playing it. I was liking it, but it's called Mag Runner. Um, it's kind of like uh I mean it's a puzzle game similar to Portal, where it's first person and you're like solving puzzles. Um and it's futuristic. It's in the future, sci-fi, clean, uh, that type of future where everything's clean and nice. Um,
Hmm.
and then like at a certain point in the game, like things start going like basically you're a dude that's a mag runner who is you're basically going through this facility to solve the puzzles. I think it's like a game show or something like that. I can't remember, or some sort of a test. And like if the winner of the test, like no one has ever finished the mag runner obstacle course or whatever, and like the winner gets something or something like that. I can't remember. But like at a certain point, like things start going crazy. Like you see some like weird creatures pop out and killing random people, like dragging dead bodies around, and then you have like sort of like scares, like like a quick flash where you see like a Cthulhu head or something like that in your face. Um, and it's like 2D as well. Like when it flashes in your face, it's not like a 3D thing that pops up. It's like this just a quick 2D picture that just blinks in your face. Um, and then it's like revealed that your parents are like in a Cthulhu cult or something like that. It started getting really weird. Once they like straight up said your parents are in a Cthulhu cult, and the dude you're playing is like Cthulhu. Like he's just as confused as I am. But I mean, like the puzzles are fun. I mean, it's like I said, similar to Portal. I mean, it's not like you're shooting portals around, but it's more like you're lifting like these blocks and moving them around and um
Yeah.
things of that nature. Um, but I don't know. Maybe I think I'll probably like revisit it one day. Because it wasn't bad. I was actually enjoying it. I don't know why I stopped playing. I can't remember. There's always a reason why I stopped playing something. Like life happens.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Anything else you wanna mention?
No, I think I hit quite a few points, but
What would you
yeah, if
say
you
would be like some key elements uh that should be used when a game is using Lovecraftian horror or Cthulhu?
I think the biggest thing is, for me at least, is atmosphere. Um, it needs to have that feeling of something. It needs to feel creepy, but it doesn't necessarily have to have jump scares. And I think, as long as it's following the ideals of atmospheric and psychological horror, I think those are the two most important parts about Lovecraftian horror in general. Because it needs to convey the idea of fear of the unknown. Uh, so even if there's not a visible monster, it needs to feel like there's something there, but you don't know what it is. That generally has the most Lovecraftian style effect. Just atmosphere and being scared, or but something creepy that's unknown.
Hmm. Okay. I would say that those are some good elements to use. Like having the psychological stuff is pretty good. Um, I mean, like with Mag Runner, like going with the jump scares. I mean, that's like a cheap way of doing it. Um,
Yeah, and it's also possible to just include inspirations of Lovecraftian monsters, and they can be used in different ways. I mean, just like like Cthulhu Saves the World. That's a completely humorous, non-scary take on what Cthulhu is, but it was still a really fun game, and it kind of gave a different perspective on just horror in general, because it's humorous, and it's about this Cthulhu that's kind of going through these trials to free himself from some other kind of prison or some other kind of um, situation where he just isn't able to do what he's able to do. Um, but yeah, if you're going to actually go for the horror stuff, it definitely needs to have that emphasis on a creepy atmosphere and the fear of the unknown and psychological horror.
You know, one thing that can really be scary and have like really great atmosphere and horror if you put some effort into it.
Well, I can tell you one thing that I am scared of is if my website goes down.
You know what can prevent your website from going down?
I wish I had a solution.
DreamHost. Their web
Ooh,
service that offers unlimited storage, unlimited bandwidth, user-friendly interface. They're also optimized to use content managers such as WordPress and many more features. All that just for $7.95 US a month. And if you use the promo code Out Continues during this haunted week, ooh, it'll wave away the set fee and get your free domain registration.
ooh,
Yeah,
that's
that's
not scary at all.
or is it? Da-da-da, da-da-da-da. All right. Um, quick announcements. Please leave some iTunes reviews. You know, one thing that's really scary is the fact that we haven't had any iTunes reviews since like 2014. That's scary.
Uh,
Please leave iTunes reviews. So
that
honestly, the most helpful things you could do for the podcast is to leave a review. If you can't leave a review for whatever reason, you can still help us out by sharing the podcast on social media such as Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube. Make a YouTube video. Be like, yo, check out this podcast. Ooh. Tell a friend, tell your mom. If you don't like us, then tell an enemy. Um, yeah. Let's move on to news, and I'll start screen sharing so you don't have to see my prescription drugs in the background. Uh, those
yeah,
are those are all prescription.
prescription.
Yeah, they're totally prescription.
Uh-huh.
Look at that.
Are they your prescription?
I'm the only one who lives here, so yes. All right, screen sharing. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
All right, good.
Can
Because
you hear me?
yes, I just want to make sure we don't have
Okay.
that issue anymore. Because that one time was pretty messed up. So
Yeah.
anyways, Super Mario Odyssey is the best rated game of all time.
It's pretty crazy.
I saw IGN's review. They gave it a straight 10.
Yeah.
A solid 10 out of 10. And yeah, I know people at work are going nuts over this.
Well, I wish
Do you have a Switch?
I don't. Um, but I may actually end up getting one now because for the longest time the main reason I wanted a Switch was to play Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
And now with it seems like Nintendo is making a huge turn with the Switch. I mean, first Breath of the Wild was well received. Um, the Switch is actually getting a lot of third-party support, and now Odyssey, which is getting extremely good reviews. So it seems like the Switch is something well worth the investment, especially if it's like only what $350, $400.
You know, I overcame Breath of the Wild. I brushed my teeth
Mm.
this morning and used mouthwash. No more wild breath.
wild breath. Hashtag no more wild breath. That should be the hashtag for this show. Or that should be the title for this show is no more wild breath.
I never have titles for the show. I just have episode numbers.
But yeah,
Yeah,
Odyssey.
Mario's looking good. People are liking it. It is overall scored at 98.92% on game rankings. What about Metacritics?
I
Um,
can look that up.
it's popping up. Super Mario Odyssey is fourth place on here. Well, it's a 97 on Metacritic. Whoa. No, thank you. Don't need to play. Let me mute the tab or mute the site. Yeah. So sounds like as far as game rankings, it's the highest rated game.
Yeah.
You know, Mario has to save Princess Peach from Bowser a lot. Maybe, what if like they're actually in collusion with each other? Because I mean, every time Mario goes to save Princess Peach, he gets a lot of golden coins. And
Yeah.
so maybe Bowser like shares the ransom money with Mario, and that's why she's constantly getting kidnapped because they're working with each other. And Mario,
Yeah, so Mario pays Bowser under the table part of the money that he gets so that they can just keep repeating this process over and over again.
the next game confirmed Super Mario bribery.
Bribery.
No, it has to be Super Mario, so it sounds more mafia.
Super Mario.
Super Mario bribery. Super Mario Sopranos.
Super Mafia.
Yeah. All right.
Super Mafia.
Let's move on. Talk about another new release from this week. Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, which has been getting great reviews on consoles. Bum bum bum. So looking at it on the Steam page, if you scroll down a bit and go to the user reviews, people are not happy at all. Because if you look through all these negative reviews, looks like the game is not optimized for PC and is busted, and yeah, crashes, does not run. That's very disappointing.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein is like one of the OG PC games. And now it's turned its back on PC. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I was just like looking at reviews for this like last night, and I was like, whoa, this game sounds awesome on console.
Yeah.
That's very disappointing. I mean, like a big company like Bethesda, which I mean, like most their games are on PC. Well, all their games are on PC, but I mean, most of them have like additional stuff on PC, like mod support, which they've been like trying to get that stuff on the consoles recently. But like now it seems like their quality control is low. I mean, if they, I wonder if they knew this game was gonna be busted coming out on PC. If they're thinking, okay, um, let's go ahead and release this on PC, and we're gonna make our money anyways, and we'll eventually fix this, so they'll be happy eventually.
Yeah, and I think that's unfortunately the trend for most AAA games these days is if it's just bugs, they'll release it anyway because they can always patch them in later.
Hmm.
But it's unfortunate that this is the mentality that a lot of AAA games have because the there's a chance that all these bugs and things will be what is remembered about that game. I mean, if you think back and look at uh, Assassin's Creed, was it Unity
Yeah.
or was it yeah, Unity, the one like that had all the major bugs like people's faces not showing up or animations breaking and things like that. Like that's the thing that's most memorable about that game,
Hmm.
and it's not. But I'm sure that there were other issues too because I remember hearing bad things about the story in that game. But
Heck,
um,
I haven't even played Batman Arkham Knight yet because I was
oh
so disappointed in how bad that PC port was.
yeah, and I think they fixed it because when I played it uh, earlier
Yeah,
this year, it was pretty good. It was pretty
yeah,
well
it's
optimized by
fixed
that
by
point.
now, but like my hype for it died so much. Like I was
Yeah.
super hyped for that game and I was ready to play it, and then I was like, this is not looking good. And I know a ton of people are like, oh, just play it anyways. It's not that bad. I'm like, it's bad. It's noticeable. Like when you're playing the
Yeah.
game and like, the frame rate keeps dropping and you just don't want to play. If it's not smooth, if it's not running well, it's very discouraging to play it. And
Yeah.
like and that was like right after WB had issues with Mortal Kombat X. Like they had that had a bad launch as well, where the game wouldn't even launch for some people. Like it wouldn't even boot.
Yeah.
Fortunately, seems like WB hasn't been having issues with PC ports since then, but now we have
I think
Bethesda.
he's been having I think WB has been having some other issues though, um, especially
Yeah,
with Shadow of War.
yeah,
But
with loot boxes.
yeah, all the microtransactions and uh, yeah, it's unfortunate.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Let's
hopefully. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Hopefully, they're able to fix the Wolfenstein issues because I mean, if they are just bugs and if the game itself is good, I'm usually okay with games that have technical issues because as I was saying earlier, they can always be patched. Although it is unfortunate that developers are or if publishers are forcing these games to come out before they're fully ready. But my biggest concern is always just in the game design and if that's doing what needs to be done to make the game fun. Because game bugs can always be patched, but you can't patch uh, game design, like bad game design decisions.
Yeah, just looking at these reviews, looks like people are really angry that the game is unplayable. Um,
Yeah.
I know. I noticed this person put hashtag never pre-order. Obviously, this person pre-ordered the game. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put hashtag
Yeah.
never pre-order. They obviously pre-ordered the game.
Yeah, they're regretting their decision.
Stakes have been
Well,
raised.
yeah, yeah, and it kind of makes me glad that my PC is currently not working because I've been really tempted to play it, and I know that I mean I didn't want to pre-order it, but I'm glad that I'm not playing it yet because I definitely have a long history with the Wolfenstein series, and I want to be able to play it when it's ready. So I hope that they patch the issues soon. And then once those reviews start to show more positive, I'll definitely be picking it up.
One of my friends on Facebook, I think you might be friends with him as well. But he posted a meme image on Facebook. Oh, you don't look at Facebook, do you? So,
Yeah, I haven't actually opened Facebook in a long time.
okay, so he posted this meme image that had like each year that Wolfenstein came out, and it's like kill Nazis. Everyone's response, cool. And then like for
Oh
each
yeah.
year, and then the very last one, it says 2017 Wolfenstein, kill Nazis. Everyone, oh, that's pretty a strong political statement. Are you sure you wanna you wanna say that?
Yeah, that it's kind of ridiculous that there was so much controversy around that uh, marketing campaign by the for Wolfenstein, and it's just ridiculous that for the longest time it's been fine, and now all of a sudden people are getting upset about that,
I
and
love
it's
the marketing campaign. Like if you're
oh,
if
I
you
love it too.
if you're a Nazi GTFO and then like punches a Nazi
Yeah,
in the face.
yeah, and I think with the current political climate, I think Bethesda or whoever is handling the marketing for this definitely took advantage of that, and I think the controversy, even though it is controversy, it will ultimately do more favors for the game. I think, just
Yeah.
because now it's being more, it's gotten more exposure because of that on non-video game related sites, but
Hmm.
also people who feel strongly, one way, the other way about politics, and they will want to play this game now because it's making that statement about the opposition, um, and I think that this marketing campaign is definitely making strides in the positive direction for Wolfenstein.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at our last news article, which is not video game related, but comic related because I like to talk about that stuff as well. Looks like there's gonna be a Deathstroke movie, and Deathstroke being also the villain of the Batman movie that is in the works. Um, I like Deathstroke as a character. He's pretty cool. He has a really cool design. Um,
Yep.
and here he is on the screen, just looking cool. And it looks like
As he
they've
does.
gotten the director of the Raid to be the director of this. Have you watched the Raid, Kevin?
Sorry, I it seems like it broke up there for a couple
Okay.
seconds.
Have you seen the Raid?
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Raid was a pretty cool movie. So, considering that they got the guy who um, directed the Raid, um, hopefully that means this will have at the very least good action.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. At the very least, I mean, it might be a bad movie, but at least it should have some good action scene. I'm hoping. I actually I'm not really my hope is like at my hope level is at zero. I mean my faith level is at zero. I have no faith in this movie, just as I do for any other DC movie. I have no faith, but I will admit I am interested, and I hope it will be good. Even though I have little faith, no faith, zero, negative faith. I have negative faith on this movie.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, historically, the DC movies have not been great. Thankfully, the Wonder Woman movie was done really well. And
I thought it was okay.
oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. Definitely, I enjoyed it more than Batman versus Superman, or um, I think even
Suicide
the
Squad.
yeah. I actually haven't seen Suicide Squad yet.
Don't.
Um, that'll probably. I mean, I'll eventually watch it, but it'll probably be one of those like if I can get it for super cheap.
No, no,
Like,
don't even watch it. Like you could probably like watch, like a like what Cinema Sins. Watch Cinema Sins on that movie, and you'll basically get the whole movie.
oh,
You know the Cinema Sins series. Like they
yeah.
just go through like every scene and like point out what was wrong, and they do it like between 20 to 30 minutes or so. Um, yeah, like just watch that you'll get the gist of it, and you don't need to spend 2 hours watching it.
Hmm.
It's
All right.
unnecessary. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
unfortunate.
I watched Wonder Woman like a couple weeks ago, and while it wasn't offensive like Batman versus Superman or Suicide Squad, I mean it was much better than those movies. I feel like there was a lot of issues with it. Um,
Yeah.
like it did like I feel like it did a poor job portraying what her powers actually are, because at times like her strength level was going up and down constantly. um
Mm.
uh, like what she was able to do was like just coming out of the blue. I mean, like at the very end she was like she basically had the power of love. I mean I have no idea what the heck she even did there at the very end, when she was fighting the last boss. I guess
Yeah.
to avoid spoilers. Even though most people have probably watched it at this point, she like was fighting the last boss, and rather than like defeating him due to her superior skill in hand to hand combat, which that's something Wonder Woman is really good at. Like the difference between her and Superman is that Superman will fly towards somebody with his fist, and that's how he fights. And Wonder Woman, she, actually knows how to fight. Um,
Hmm.
and instead of like using her superior skills in combat, she just like used the power of love or whatever the heck that was. That Deus Ex Machina to defeat the enemy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that just made no sense. I mean, it
That's true.
just
I actually did forget about the ending, but yeah.
I mean, and also like the very last scene, like the one where she like leaves the Wayne Tower and then she jumps and like goes towards the sunset. I couldn't tell if she was jumping a lot higher than she did before, like she was jumping Hulk style, or if she learned how to fly. Because Wonder Woman in like the comics and the cartoons, she can fly. So
Yeah.
I could not tell. Like the movie did a bad job like explaining what her powers are. Also,
That's a
also,
fair assessment.
also on top of that, like when she jumped off of the quote shield end quote that Steve Trevor and the French guy were holding, they should have been squashed. Like, I mean, seriously, like she did not need like a 5 foot boost to jump towards that tower.
Yeah.
Um, she hit that tower like a cannonball. Like there was no tower left after she like smashed into it, and for her to launch off them with to launch herself up that high and that fast, she would have to have exerted an equal amount of force below her, meaning Steve Trevor should have like died much earlier in that movie.
But she's a superhero, so she can save everyone.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yes, I know I'm bringing physics to a superhero movie, but like the thing is, like when it comes to fictional worlds, if they like start creating their own rules, and they stick with those rules, I'm fine with it. But there's nowhere in that movie in which they said, yeah, she can break physics.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I have my own issues. Plus, I didn't like Steve Trevor. Like um his humor was pretty bad. I'm above average, and he said that twice. Like he said that twice within like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Come on. We get it. Stop talking about your little Steve. But I mean, like the movie was not offensive like Batman vs Superman. Like that movie, I finished watching. I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
I did not feel the same way about Wonder Woman. It was an alright movie, but I don't. I might also be giving it more criticism due to like hearing so many people say that the movie was amazing. I've heard a lot of people, like especially coworkers, oh, this is a really great movie, and
So it was like overhyped.
maybe. I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit more critical about it due to all that, but overall, like I think it is definitely, without a doubt, the best of DC's post Christopher Nolan movies. But it's definitely not even on the same level as Marvel. Not the same thing.
Yeah.
With that said, no faith, negative faith for Deathstroke. Negative faith. All right. Back to me. Hey. Ooh, scared you. That was a jump scare. All right, let's wrap this up. So, no listener feedback this week, but if you want to write into the show, that's podcast@aftercontinues.com. Send us your questions, comments, or another feedback to podcast@aftercontinues.com. Guess what, Kevin?
What?
If somebody sends an email to podcast@aftercontinues.com, you know how much it costs them?
I have no idea.
I think you do. Do you know how much money it costs for them to send me that email?
Is it free 99?
I don't know about that 99, but it's definitely free. Free without the 99. It is free. All you have to do is open up your web browser or your either go to your web browser and go to your email website, or go on your phone and open up your email app. Type in podcast@advocatenews.com in the to line. Write a question, comment, or any other feedback in the body. You can also put in something in the subject line if you want, and then send it.
So simple as 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. But anyways, if you enjoy what we've been hearing, you can support us by liking us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, leave an iTunes review, subscribe to the Google Play Music, or you can contact by email as podcast@advocatenews.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/advocatenews. All those things I just said, they can be found on the website. That's www.advocatenews.com. And you can give me a tweet. I'm at SayedStafa. That's at SayedStafa. And Kevin has his own Twitter as well.
I am at KS Trehan. That's KSTREHAN.
I'd like to thank my guest host for joining me today, Kevin.
Thank you, Stafa.
And with that said, I'm your host, Stafa. Thanks for joining us. And I'll see you guys next week. Ooh. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click over here to subscribe. Click there for last week's episode. And click there for the episode before that. Ooh, the Undertaker is coming back. My God, he's broken in half.